everyone, this is Jane with Barlow Herbal, and happy Sunday, March 30th of 2025. Now this Sunday I'm going to do something a little bit different because this is going to accompany a video interview that I did with the founders of Focused Life Force Energy. I was able to do an interview with them about a week ago, and it is going to be live on my channel the same time this Sunday morning. Message of Love is live for you. So what I thought I would do is I wanted to go through all the different things that I have been noticing and feeling and paying attention to since I added this service onto my home and my business about a year and a half ago. And then what I would suggest you do is watch the interview I did with Jeffrey and Clayton and make up your own decision in your own mind about what you think about this service, because what I believe is happening is that we are living in really pivotal times, and I've been talking about this for a long time, and I believe that it's conscious companies like this that need to be spotlighted, that need to be brought to the attention of those of us who not only see, but the people that we come in contact with, the people that we have in our homes. You know, this is something that when I put this service on my home, it affected not just my husband in a positive way, but everybody that comes to our home can feel the difference. And most people that feel it they have no idea that I have this service on my home. They just know that they want to be there because it feels so good. It's just high consciousness. It's like being in a place of love all the time. So besides the intention and the consciousness that I create myself, having this grid of high consciousness field energy over my home is really, really amazing. And the same thing with having this over my business. There's people who work with me, and to spread this kind of consciousness and love, it has made an absolute difference in an already high consciousness field. Like we've been creating that on purpose for many, many years, and to have this extra layer, it feels like it's protection. And it feels like it makes it easier to stay in a place of just love and harmony and peace while the chaos of the world is going on, because we're living in really pivotal times. So I want to share with you some of the things that I have personally noticed and some of the things that I've done intentionally to help keep this consciousness grid performing its absolute best for me, because it already does its thing. But it's really cool to be aware and conscious of it and to actually make notes of it. I should just get in a journal, okay? So here's some of the things that I have personally noticed. First of all, my home feels lighter and more peaceful. It feels clearer without me having to do anything. You know, I found that I feel like I used to have to work really hard to keep my vibe high, even when I wasn't feeling like up for it. I'd had a long day, something, maybe a little bit hard had happened. I was going through something tough with my business or with a family member or whatever that might be. Or maybe I was just feeling all the pulsing energy from the collective consciousness that was lower than where I wanted to be. And to be able to keep that level of consciousness myself, it sounds weird, but it was kind of tiring. So what I noticed is I can simply go home now and I can just be. It feels lighter and clear. I can feel the energy, and of course I know it's there, and it's really interesting to experience. Here's something else I noticed, and I'm a plant lover. The plants in my home, they are thriving like they never have before. In fact, a couple weeks ago I talked about a plant I've had for 20 years, and I take really good care of my plants. I don't have a lot of house plants because I'm the one who takes care of them, and I just have a certain amount that I love and grow, and maybe I have more than I think I do, but I talk to my plants. I take care of my plants, but my plants seem happier. They seem like they're growing faster. In fact, I have one little bonsai tree in my kitchen that grows really, really slow. And this past year, it has picked up its pace, and it's really cool because it's a stunning difference I've had it for 5 years. And so for a year and a half, it's been in this different frequency field and it's responding. So what I found is faster growth. It seems like the leaves are greener, and I have zero issues with any pests, any type of, sometimes there'd be like little tiny flies, like fruit flies that might fly around it. And even if I didn't have any fruit sitting on the kitchen counter, but it seems like there's just this high vibe field that they get to be in, and they're thriving. And here's something interesting. We have reverse osmosis, a filter that is run through our whole house. We have a filter that goes on everything. So not just the drinking water in the sinks, but the showers and everywhere. Our clothes get washed with its reverse osmosis. But here's what I've noticed. It feels like the water tastes better, and it feels like it's smoother when I'm bathing or drinking it. So this is something that one of my sisters and her daughter, her grown daughter, who they both have this field on their home, they've mentioned that to me. My niece, her hot water, her water in her house is hard water. She doesn't have a water softener. And she just was like, my water feels different. It feels smoother. And I was like, that's so interesting because mine feels the same. And I feel like I've always had great water because it's intentionally filtered throughout the whole house, but there's something different. And we all know that water holds frequency, I've actually wrote that down here in a little bit too. Okay, now what I've also noticed is a mental and emotional clarity. The last 5 years have been a little bit rockier than usual in my personal relationship with my spouse. And I'm going to cover this in a video in a week or two because it feels like this is an exploding issue with many couples when one person has an awakening or one person moves away from deeper beliefs that maybe are political, religious, or cultural, or even spiritual or whatever. And it might be some of these things that kept, put you together in the first place. But me and my husband we grew up in completely different political families, and I'll just start right there and leave it right there. But these last 5 years have been extra challenging for the two of us. And this, I have noticed just the emotions of love, pure love, and it's easier to let go of things that might have normally triggered me. It's really amazing to describe and to explain unless you experience it yourself. So I feel like there's been less mental fog and more focused thinking and much more creativity. I'm a creative person anyway. I like to paint, I like to take photographs. And if I'm not doing that, I'm usually cleaning or organizing or, I'm kind of a busybody. I don't sit down that often. But this has actually given me what I feel like is more creativity in the things that I already do that are creative. I also just feel like along with this mental clarity that there's just more feelings of just gratitude and peace and joy. I just feel like the feelings that make us feel good are in the field already. And what's interesting, and I wrote this, is sometimes it's without a clear reason. Like, isn't that just how we're designed? We're supposed to be happy without having a reason for it. And many of you might know people who are just always happy no matter what's happening in the world or in their life. And sometimes it just doesn't make any sense, right? It's like, well, you got this going on that seems pretty hard and pretty gnarly, and you're still happy. And you know what I'll tell you? My mom was exactly like that. She suffered from MS for 46 years, and the last 10 years of her life were really, really tough. She was in a wheelchair. She had to be in assisted living because she needed help bathing and getting in and out of bed and getting dressed and all of that. And luckily, she was very, very close to me and quite a few of my siblings, and we were constantly there with her. But every single time that I would go visit her, which was on a regular basis, she was the most positive person that I knew. And looking at the circumstances that she lived with and her inability to, have independence and go anywhere, shop for herself. She couldn't drive. She couldn't, there were so many things that were limited in her life at the end of her life that I don't know how she stayed so positive, but she always had a smile on her face. She was always, I think, this is where whenever I put out an email, I'm always like, what a beautiful day to be alive. I get this so beautifully from my mother. My mom was just the most positive person. And if you think about people who are like that, what I believe that this field does is it provides you the atmosphere and the environment so that this can become the way you live your life too. And it becomes automatic, especially if you really pay attention to it. Because what I love is knowing that this is there, it adds an extra layer of my own intentions, of the way I want to be and the vibrational energy of the consciousness and the emotions that I put out. There's an intention to it because there's a knowing to it. So that's honestly what I feel. And then what I also have noticed is a physical and an energetic, the way that I just feel energy-wise has been an upgrade, okay? Definitely better sleep and sleep quality and more. And in particular for my husband, that was the biggest thing. Most of our marriage, he's always had trouble sleeping. And there's been some lifestyle things, supplement wise, cutting back on alcohol a little bit, for him, and cleaning up his diet sometimes, and exercising, and all those things play a role. But once I put this service, this FLFE, on our home, the very first night, he had one of the best night's sleep he'd had in our entire marriage. And now we've had it a year and a half, and he sleeps great. He sleeps great. It's amazing it's amazing to think about it until you experience it. Okay. I've noticed improved energy levels, especially if I felt like I'd had a heavy day doing work, or there's just a lot of stuff happening in the world, and I was out and about and running errands and shopping and doing whatever, and even working, even though my work environment at my warehouse was high because we were intentional with it. Sometimes it would get hard and heavy, especially during these last 5 years with the pandemic and all the unrest politically and all of the things happening in the world. Sometimes just even coming home, I'd just be like, I just need to lay down and read. I need to lay down and take a nap before we have dinner. Like, that was a regular thing for me. And I think it's just the energies of the planet, right? So I've noticed an extreme difference in energy levels, and I'm already a high energy person, so that's actually saying a lot. I also feel like if I would have had this service on my home when I had my knee replacement, which I had a full year prior, I believe that I would have healed faster. Just my own thought about how we heal faster in a higher vibrational place of energy, right? Now, what I've also noticed is, this is interesting, okay? It feels like I have heightened intuition, I have more vivid dreams, and I have more frequent synchronicities. I feel like there are things, honestly, that I experience that seem to be heightened. And there's a lot of things that I've locked into place as far as my meditations. I've had a couple of really beautiful facilitated plant medicine journeys that have, I believe, opens up a portal of awareness, and it opens up a portal to accessing our consciousness on those higher levels already. So there were definitely things that I'd put in place that were already there, so that when this field is now in my home and I go into a meditation, I believe that this heightens my meditation simply because of this field, right? So it feels like I have a stronger connection to meditation, prayer, and just the inner work that I do. I believe it makes my journaling flow when I tune in and tap into my higher self, and I ask for guidance from not just my higher self, but God, our creator, which we are a piece of. That's why when we tune into God, we are tuning into our higher self, right? So it feels to me like something is watching over me. So it's not just a knowing, I feel like I can feel it, which is really beautiful. So here's some ideas that I've written down that I feel can help really amplify this field. And here's what I would suggest. There's a link below this video where you can get 15 days and just try this service out for free. It's awakenthefield.com. Just try it out. You don't have to put any credit card in. Just try this out, and then maybe go back and rewatch these things that I'm telling you and set some of these intentions, which will help amplify it for you. And you can get a really good feeling. 15 days is a complete half of a month. And you don't have to you don't have any commitment, and you can try it out, okay? So this is what I would say. Start your day by speaking intentions into your space. Something like, kind of like a mantra. And here's what I wrote. Today, this home supports love, clarity, and healing. Write it on a sticky note. Write it on a little sign. Put it by your mirror. Put it in your kitchen. Write something and speak it into the space. Because we all know this is quantum technology. And when you speak, you are putting out quantum entanglement. You're putting out energy and frequency into the field. So think about it like that. Every 30 seconds, even just 30 seconds of mindful intention, I believe helps to align this field, okay? Now, this is a really fun thing to try, experiment. Keep a pitcher of water in a central location and let it sit in the field, which is basically in your home. And for me, I tried this for 1 week, and because my water is all filtered and I felt like I just didn't need to do that anymore. But I did try this because I know that water holds energy and frequency. In fact, when I am curing my homemade tinctures, I write on the jars that have the herbs curing, I write the word love and I write the word healing on them. I write the name of the herb on the top of the lid. I write the date, I write the species that it is, and then I literally write the words love and healing on my jars of herbs that are curing. And you can do this. You can do this with your water if you want. But fill up a pitcher of water, set it on your kitchen counter, and throughout the day, that's the water that you drink. Try that, right? And then here's something I thought was really kind of fun, because I have crystals. I love crystals. You can see some amethyst, behind me. But a quartz crystal, this is kind of notches it up a level. Take a quartz crystal and drop it into your pitcher of water, and let that sit in the field. And here's what I think about that. To me, it's like sipping on charged light when you do that. To me, that's pretty cool. Now, the next thing I wrote, and I noticed this because when we entertain, we have speakers throughout our living, our kitchen, our dining room, and our living space. We have a big space where all these are in one big room. And we have speakers in the ceiling. And we always pipe music through when we entertain. We have family over, we have friends over. And so we love music even when it's just us, right? So what I believe that music does, especially music chosen with intention, is it basically reinforces the vibration of the field. So try things like high frequency music, like 432 hertz or 528 hertz as background music. Try singing bowls, or some of the energy bowls. I have these and they're fun to play with, and the kids love them, and it's just fun to do. And then let music play in the background while you do cleaning, working, or when you're just simply winding down. I think what we tend to do is we tend to open up our social media, we start watching YouTube channels, we start listening to a podcast we wanted to listen to. And while that's all fine, make an intention, maybe even just during the 2 weeks that you try out this trial, and put on high vibrational music while you're just winding down, while you're making dinner, while you're visiting, and just put it on low. While you're visiting with your family members that are coming home after work too, let these experiments change the way that you see the energy and the vibration of your home, regardless of what you do with it, right? Like putting on a high frequency consciousness field. Okay, and then this one I really love. Create a field anchor spot. So for me, the spot that I've created is actually in this room. This is a pretty good sized room. I think it's about 900 square feet. And this is my office. In fact, way over here, this room is, because it's so big, I have a quilt set up because I'm making a quilt for my granddaughter. And that's over there. And I've got, on this side, some other stuff and some of my paintings stacked up. And I've got singing bowls, sound bowls here, and just different things. So and I've got all these crystals set up. And basically this is my anchor spot. And here's what I wrote about that. Designate a small sacred corner or spot in your house that includes things like crystals, candles, and meaningful objects. Maybe a picture of, I have a picture over here of my dad, me and my dad, one of my favorite pictures of me and my dad. I've got pictures of my grandkids and some of my nieces and nephews. And over here, I have this beautiful, great big 16 by 20 picture of me and all of my siblings lined up at my mom's funeral. And it's the last picture that we've actually had of all of us together at the same time. And it's, that's been 10 years, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. So this is just a sacred spot for me. But what this does when you have this spot, sit there for 5 or 10 minutes every day and tune in and let your body, your biology harmonize. And make this kind of like a portal space, like a space where it's like intentionally set up so that you can feel the frequency of this field. So this can become for what it did for me, like a powerful portal point where the FLFE energy is especially focused. So that way you can go, okay, I need to take a break for a minute, for 5 minutes, and get away. Maybe you have 4 or 5 kids and they're crying, or they're just maybe they're not crying but they're rowdy, and your home feels chaotic. Go to your quiet spot for even 60 seconds. Maybe you can't break away for 5 or 10 minutes. Make a place where you can intentionally go and maybe sit. And this is where I love to journal. This is where I journal, either here or at my kitchen counter. And it's really, really amazing. So, let's see. I think that's probably a really good place to end it. And then the only thing I'd like to suggest is that keep a journal, kind of like a field journal. Like, what am I feeling in this field? And notice the things like track your sleep, track your mood, track the way you feel, does the water taste different? If normally what happens, I find, is we don't pay attention to these things. I think that if we're intentional, and especially as we're walking through these times, and we have this amazing technology that's here to support us, not only are we going to survive, but we're going to thrive, because this is the best time to be here, and why not use the tools that are available to us? So what I would suggest is watch the interview I did with Jeff and Clayton. These are 2 very, very God-centered men, and they have an amazing business. And the times that I've spoken with them, and before we even started our interview, before we turned on the record, we closed our eyes in prayer. We had a moment of silence and prayer. I mean, this is a very intentional company. And the thing is, I feel like it's a really beautiful thing that I get to share what they do and how they want to lift up humanity and provide such an amazing service. So I hope you enjoy the interview. I hope you have an amazing first week in March, or in April. We have April Fool's Day is coming up this week. Maybe you do something fun on April Fool's that fools and shocks your family every year. One of my sons is a big April Fool's guy, and he usually gets one or all of us every single year. He's put out some doozies in the past. But anyway, I hope you have an absolute beautiful Sunday. I hope you enjoy the interview that I did with Jeff and Clayton from FLFE. And my best suggestion is give their free trial a chance. It's absolutely amazing. So thanks for tuning in today, guys. I hope you have a beautiful week, and we'll see you next time.